Hello and welcome to Through the Mist with me, your host Owen. This is a Void and Verse Theory podcast where we look at the lore and try to understand how it all works. In this episode, we'll be looking at Julius, Kane and the gods of Egypt. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Mythbusters, to the Mythbusting game. 'Cause we turn back time. Oh well, gonna hit rewind. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Mythbusting game, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. We'll do a quick plug pitch quickly before we get into the episode. So remember, there's email, there's socials that you can always follow or write into. If you want to write in, you got the email through.t.mist@gmail.com. It's always in the description. You just don't have to remember it off the top of your head. Also in the description, there's a link to send you to the Instagrams if you want to join at @through_mist. If you don't want to click things and like searching it up instead, you can always send us a DM there as well, if you so please. But just remember that those things are out there, because I'm busy bee, doing my things, doing my schoolwork, and busy. I'm just busy. Me, busy. You, I don't know. Probably also busy. But if you want to not have to search things up and stay in touch with this podcast, you can just do the things and turn back time. I'm in a mood and I can't wait to record this episode. So, yeah. Okay, so episode mode. Gonna have to talk through things. You're gonna have to be clear. So, what are we talking about today? I'm talking about Julius, Kane and the gods of Egypt. So, if you don't know, Julius Kane is Daddy Kane. That's who he is, Daddy Kane. Daddy Takara and Sadie. We are talking Kane Chronicles, people. Boo! Why are we talking about him? Why have I decided to do this episode? And it's all to do with his Osiris, Aero, whatever his name is. And I've said it a lot, so probably Osiris after this point. But his merger with him, and what happens at the end of book 1, and perpetuates through the rest of the books, and how that might differ to the other gods. So that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get in and get some definition straight. What sort of people are we talking about? And we're talking about what is referred to in the Kane Chronicles as a godling. And what is a godling, I hear you ask? Owen, what is a godling, I hear you ask? This is you guys are like this. Oh. Egyptian gods need an anchor to stay within the mortal realm and not into the Daunt. Daunt is the Delta Uniform Alpha Tango word. I say that as Daunt because I don't know how else to pronounce it, and that's how I do it. So they need an anchor to stay in the mortal realm, and when this anchor is an animal, more specifically a human, they refer to this as a godling. They do prefer humans, and more specifically, they prefer blood of fairies. That's all quite easily established within the first book. So if you want the non-human animals, you have Bast inhabiting Muffin, and you also have the crocodile dude, forgotten his name, and also the red pyramid itself is also an anchor for Set. So that is things. And then there's different levels of godling. I've got like 3 godling levels. So you've got possession, and that's where the god is in control. That's where the god is fully in control, and I feel this is the most common version of this that we see throughout the book. Second level is a host, which is the second most common version we see, and this is where the person has control, but is still using all the powers of the gods. So this is Carter and Sadie within the first book. They are the host, and then there's the eye of the god, which is where the god and the person both have equal footing within the development, and that happens in the books as well, obviously, but later stages, later things. Fun times. You have all these different mechanisms. So you have possession, which, again, you see with Bast straight off. The bat is like the first possession person. So there's something else I want to talk about quickly before we get on to the whole Julius Kane of it all. And just have a quick dive into specific aspect about Egyptian gods and hosting capabilities. So we have shapeshifting. So we just kind of read the book and we just kind of go, huh, they changed, Bast changes from muffin to bipedal Bast. We're like, cool, that's fine. And then also we meet up with Bess, the dwarf god, and we kind of go, oh, he looks like this. And then you have Grandma and Granddad, what's their name? Their name's not Kane. I didn't write this down because I wrote the god's names down. Getting shapeshifted by Nookbet and Babby. And all these have in common is when they shapeshift, they seem to be under possession. Not toast, not an eye, under possession. So you also have Carton say they do the bird thing, but they do the bird thing. I've just realised Carton say they do the bird thing. I didn't write this down in my notes. Carton say do the bird thing. Can also add that to this list. But these ones, these 4, they don't. They're slightly different to Carton saying the bird thing because Bass changes into Bass. This is how Bass looks. Bass looked like this, and then some of her aspects are still muffiny. And there's Bess. Who is he? Is Bess in possession of a human, or is there something slightly different up with him? Who knows? And you've got Nook, Butt, and Babby, who definitely possess and definitely just shapeshift these humans to fit more what they like about them. And like, what I was thinking about this is like, how do these guys kind of like shapeshift? Like, what is shapeshifting? Why shapeshifting? It's not like we could just go, oh, Beast Boy shapeshifts. There's like a logical leap within a universe for why something shapeshifts. And there's not given any logical leap. I could put out here that mist forms. So in Son of Magic, we meet the mist forms, and they are a physical thing made from literally nothing. You got conversations of matter, conservation of matter, which you could say the mist is. Daunt is a different form of matter. We ignore physics. Physics can. We're talking about a fictional universe anyway, with magic powers and gods and stuff. Mist forms. So yeah, they could be doing something like that, where they are manipulating the mist to form something real, not to hide something like they do with a lot of monsters, where it's more of like a glaze and a glamour as the Asgardians, as the Norse lot like to call it. It's more of a glamour when they do stuff like that. But this is more physical. Like I could punch it, and it is there, but it is nothingness. So it could be a form, something happening like that. What happens to the OG form? And it would seem from Neckbeck and Babby again, really, that when the god leaves them, they just kind of go. The same thing happens to Bast. So I've also got the question Bess here, because I can't really remember how he travels along with them at different stages in time, and I don't think he gets on the ship with them, so he probably dumps off his host somewhere. So, questions. Shape-shifting questions. We're bringing this up, and shape-shifting then furthered my thoughts into magical items. And like Riptide, you got Jack, you got Jason's coin, you got Thalia's shield. They are shape-shifting items. What's happening there? And then you got Frank and his entire lineage, who shapeshift. And the same form of magic is the same like base magic happening. When so we say that the Daunt and the Mist are like connected, so it's the same base magic happening, same ancient magic happening. Like you've got the laws of nature in the Voidiverse, you've got the laws of magic, which every discipline of magic follows. I don't know, maybe we'll do an episode on magical items and or an episode on magic just in general and all the different magical disciplines that we know exist in the universe. Maybe, who knows? Fun. Anyway, they were thoughts. What I'll do now is, because I am going mad, this is 10 minutes, I've been talking quickly, haven't I? I'm going to put a gap here, because I'm now going to get very wishy-washy and complicated. In between that break, first one, I did a little chatting. I'm about halfway through my notes and about halfway through the episode, so pretty good for timing, really. Anyway, we're going back to Julius now, and now we're going to focus in on Julius. We'll slot in general gods on the way, but my sidetrack about shapeshifting has happened. It's done. We're good. So what we're going to talk about now is Julius and what he is to Osiris, what Daddy Kane is to Mr. Osiris. And so we've talked about the hosting a bit with the shapeshifting stuff, and it seems to work differently. Something doesn't quite click with it, and we'll get to that in a second. So, just quickly, the host and I, what are the kind of differences there? What's the difference between if someone's a host of a god and an eye of a god? So we get great examples with Carter and Sadie as they do both things. And when hosting their god, they get power boosts, but they also are constantly fighting the voice in their head. The voice in their head being the god of choice. But when they are the eye, that voice in the head no longer is fighting them because they are on the same page. They're going, we are one, we have same goal good, duh. And then their power boost goes from power boost to Super Saiyan power boost. It's like you get Super Saiyan and you get Super Saiyan. They get the boost on top of the boost on top of the boost. But I feel like this fluctuation between host and I is very light, and it can flip on a switch. As I was reading some passages from the last books and stuff like that, as soon as a disagreement occurs within the two entities, you can go from I to host quite quickly, or you could theoretically also, if you don't have the will to fight it enough, you could go from host or to possessed with very little warning. If the will of the god is stronger than your personal will, you've got to have a lot of strong will to host a god. It's a thing. So the question here is with Julius. So Julius is clearly the host of Osiris for the most of the Red Pyramid, mainly because he's unconscious in the coffin. But what happens when the death occurs? The death happens, and we go, See, thoughts. So. Best place I found to work out what has happened upon death was a quote from the Red Pyramid, right at the back of the book. For me, it was page 500. I am both Osiris. Okay. I am both Osiris and Julius. I am both Osiris and Julius. Okay, fourth time's the charm, guys. Fourth time's the charm. I am both Osiris and Julius Kane. I am alive and dead. The term recycled may be more closer to the truth. To return him to his throne, you had to die. I had to change character. The last bit goes from Julius Osiris saying it to Carter. So this is my Carter voice now. I'm Carter. Yeah. I don't have that many voices that I can do. So Carter voice for the episode. Yeah. So that's that saying. Is that apparently he's both alive and dead, or maybe a bit more recycled than dead. He's not really dead. It's more like you got two things. You got the two plastic bottles. You threw it in the recycling bin. They got put away, and they came shipped back as one plastic bottle. That is kind of what we say. What we got here. We got a double plastic bottle becoming a single plastic bottle. So if we go a bit deeper into the lore of all this godness and how it all works, so I think probably Isis and Sadie have this chat. But we get this chat about the hosts and the discrepancies within Egyptian mythology lore, between Osiris being Horus's brother or his son, and how Rick bypasses this in the books as he goes, well, the hosts can play a big part on the god, and presumably this is probably either a full host, even an eye of a god, or maybe even a possession. But it's so if we just jump back in time before Julius, so we have two major hosts for Horus. We have the original host, the OG host, which makes Horus his brother, and then when Set does his trap, that is a new host family, and this time Horus is Osiris' son. And that's the first time Set does the trap thingy, which repeats when Julius comes alive. Quick side note: does this mean that Osiris, Isis, Set, Horus? There's 5 of them. Is that 5? That's 4. There's someone else. I'm forgetting here. Their family dynamic now changed once again for future, where Horus is Horus' son again. Horus is Horus' son, but so is Isis is now Horus' daughter and her own mother, maybe. And now Set is still brother, but of Horus. So fun. Maybe dynamics change again for future versions of the characters. Back to Aureus Julius. So we have the original trap, and we can have some thoughts about the original trap, because Sadie sees this original coffin trap go down, and it is in the god realm, the realm of the mat, which is somewhere within the universe of the Daunt. It's a vague place that just kind of blah blah blah. It's where the spirits of the gods lie, and Sadie sees this memory through the spirits of the gods. So, end of the last book, I think, this mirroring of, we see like a window into this world of the gods, where Horus is imitating Carter, because at that point they are basically one being, but 2 separate at the same time. So maybe it's one of those things where, because it happened to the god, the memory of the event is in the god realm, but it also happened in the real world. If it happened in the real world at the same time with the host, then presumably something similar happened between this host and Osiris, and something happened again, and then thing happens. So the question is, when the old magicians did the god imprisonment thing back in the day, was that original soul, that original host, the second host, not the OG host numero 2, die. Who's numero die? Presumably his soul got ripped from Osiris and actually went properly to the land of the dead, whereas Osiris' soul got ripped or maybe they both went into the prison together, and then Julius just comes in and goes and shoves the soul out of the way. Or it's like you have pictures and you've got layers. Everyone knows this now. Maybe there's layers, like onions. Ogres have layers, onions have layers. Parfait. Everyone loves parfait. Yeah. So maybe it's layers. So you have OG host, then they get pushed backwards into minimal host, and then they get pushed back into. You know what I'm trying to say. If you don't, anyway. The thing is that, so they're now kind of in one body, and then they die. The souls die. Death happens. Blah blah blah. And so I was doing a little research. Obviously, as I do, I have to do research for this, and they die. But they die within the same unit. So Oris is whatever. He's kind of dead already at this point. But Julius died. He officially died, as stated by Carter, going, "You had to die." And when I was looking at what happens to what Egyptian thought of human souls happen, it's apparently. Please, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I'll put it at the start of the next episode. Certain that, because all the aspects of the souls. I've already talked about this. There's a lot of aspects of the Egyptian soul, and some of these combine into one aspect of soul as they move. So maybe a similar thing happens with Horus and Julius, as they are within one body. Their souls move together, and as they go into the land of the dead, their souls going and entwine and become a single soul. But then the question becomes, who's in charge? Because is he a host? Is he a possessed person? Is he an eye? Which of the ones is he? The question really arises because we meet Osiris. I just read my note again. This one says Osiris, as in Julius and Osiris combined. I was a bad one. Julius might be better. We see Julius as Julius, as the top layer, but then we only ever see it through Cartes' Carter and Sadie's group name, Carter and Sadie's perspective. And that's their dad. So maybe their dad just comes out front forward when we see him, which would make sense. You know? I get to see my kids again. And then you got Mummy Kane, Ruby. And that throws a wrench into the whole idea that maybe Oris is a bit more in charge and only in charge when Julius comes out when Carter and Sadie are really there. Because they bring her back into the they stay together. They seem to be together quite a bit, from what we gather. And then when she disappears at that one point, there is some distress within Aureus, and because the mother's gone, I think we get that from Anubis. So it's a bit of a. So they're very much like they're definitely one unit. But is it Julius with an Aureus head, Aureus conscience, or is it Aureus with a Julius conscience that pops out when Carter and Sadie arrive into the forefront, when it switches when Carter and Sadie arrive, because, you know, they're mum and dad. So I'm going to lean on it is more of a hosting eye. So Julius is really, like, in control of the physicalities, the words that come out of the mouth, and all that stuff. But they are also very much plain line thinking on the same page. But one is they're just slightly more in control, and I think that'll be Julius. And they have these mental discussions, conscience to Julius, or it's to Julius. But it is kind of hard. It's a bit confusing, that one, because he's dead. Julius is dead. Everyone else is alive. Makes a bit more sense. How does it's the merged souls? Things happen. Bada bim, bada bada boom. Shalabaka. Yeah. Ooh, Jalapaka. Yeah. Weird one, innit? Innit, bruv. Okay, so this is gonna have not many breaks. I could try it. So sorry if that was a long one for you. But wrap up. Egyptian gods are weird. All the gods in this universe are weird. Julius is the weirdest. Osiris is the weirdest Egyptian god. Shapeshifting's fun. Might do an episode on it. Better. Talking about different aspects of magical items. Let us know what you want to think. If you have any takeaway from this episode, please take away that Osiris is a weird one. And Julius is probably more in charge than Osiris is. But who really knows? Until it's written about. Thank you for indulging this theory. If you have any comments on this theory or theories of your own you want me to discuss, you can email them through to through.t.mist@gmail.com, or you can follow the Instagram @through_mist and send us a little DM. Make sure you follow the podcast, rate the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, do whatever you have to do on whatever platform you're listening on to get the podcast out there. I've been Owen, and come back next time as we try to see through the mist. I'm Carter.